Pag na-aksidente, sagot ka ng e-Ready, ang first prepaid emergency health card from Maxicare. Sagot ang sakit ng katawan, sagot din ang sakit sa bulsa. Pag emergency, sagot ka ng Maxicare e-Ready.
Kanina pa masama yung pakiramdam ko. Obo. Sipon. Masakit ang ulo. May lagnat na rin yata ako. Sa tingin ko, hindi ko na kaya pumunta sa ospital. Dok, anong gagawin ko?
First of all, you really need to rest. Kailan nagsimula ang pananakit ng ulo at pag-ubo mo?
Kahapon pa po ng umaga, Dok.
Na-check mo na ba temperature mo?
Care is just a call away. With Maxicare's 24/7 teleconsult service, every Maxicare principal member and their dependent gets free expert medical consultation from reliable Maxicare partner doctors anywhere at any time. Sa Maxicare 24/7 teleconsult service, ang alaga parang nariyan lang. Maxicare.
Si Mama, unlimited ang pagmamahal. Kaya unlimited din ang pasasalamat ko sa kanya. It's time to give back with Maxicare Primo Gold, the affordable prepaid health card for senior citizens.
Pag na-aksidente, sagot ka ng e-Ready, ang first prepaid emergency health card from Maxicare. Sagot ang sakit ng katawan, sagot din ang sakit sa bulsa. Pag emergency, sagot ka ng Maxicare e-Ready.
Kanina pa masama yung pakiramdam ko. Obo. Sipon. Masakit ang ulo. May lagnat na rin yata ako. Sa tingin ko, hindi ko na kaya pumunta sa ospital. Dok, anong gagawin ko?
First of all, you really need to rest. Kailan nagsimula ang pananakit ng ulo at pag-ubo mo?
Kahapon pa po ng umaga, Dok.
Na-check mo na ba temperature mo?
Care is just a call away. With Maxicare's 24/7 teleconsult service, every Maxicare principal member and their dependent gets free expert medical consultation from reliable Maxicare partner doctors anywhere at any time. Sa Maxicare 24/7 teleconsult service, ang alaga parang nariyan lang. Maxicare.
Si Mama, unlimited ang pagmamahal. Kaya unlimited din ang pasasalamat ko sa kanya. It's time to give back with Maxicare Primo Gold, the affordable prepaid health card for senior citizens.
Pag naaksidente, sagot ka ng e-ready, ang first prepaid emergency health card from Maxicare. Sagot ang sakit ng katawan, sagot din ang sakit sa bulsa. Pag emergency, sagot ka ng Maxicare e-ready.
Kanina pa masama yung pakiramdam ko. Obo. Sipon. Masakit ang ulo. May lagnat na rin yata ako. Sa tingin ko, hindi ko na kaya pumunta sa ospital. Dok, anong gagawin ko?
First of all, you really need to rest. Kailan nagsimula ang pananakit ng ulo at pag-ubo mo?
Kahapon pa po ng umaga, Dok.
Na-check mo na ba temperature mo? May ininom ka
Care is just a call away. With Maxicare's 24/7 teleconsult service, every Maxicare principal member and their dependent gets free expert medical consultation from reliable Maxicare partner doctors anywhere at any time.
Sa Maxicare 24/7 teleconsult service, ang alaga parang nariyan lang. Maxicare.
Si Mama, unlimited ang pagmamahal. Kaya unlimited din ang pasasalamat ko sa kanya. It's time to give back with Maxicare Primo Gold, the affordable prepaid health card for senior citizens.
Pag naaksidente, sagot ka ng e-ready, ang first prepaid emergency health card from Maxicare. Sagot ang sakit ng katawan, sagot din ang sakit sa bulsa. Pag emergency, sagot ka ng Maxicare e-ready.
Kanina pa masama yung pakiramdam ko. Obo. Sipon. Masakit ang ulo. May lagnat na rin yata ako. Sa tingin ko, hindi ko na kaya pumunta sa ospital. Dok, anong gagawin ko?
First of all, you really need to rest. Kailan nagsimula ang pananakit ng ulo at pag-ubo mo?
Kahapon pa po ng umaga, Dok.
Na-check mo na ba temperature mo? May ininom ka
Care is just a call away. With Maxicare's 24/7 teleconsult service, every Maxicare principal member and their dependent gets free expert medical consultation from reliable Maxicare partner doctors anywhere at any time.
Sa Maxicare 24/7 teleconsult service, ang alaga parang nariyan lang. Maxicare.
Si Mama, unlimited ang pagmamahal. Kaya unlimited din ang pasasalamat ko sa kanya. It's time to give back with Maxicare Primo Gold, the affordable prepaid health card for senior citizens.
Pag naaksidente, sagot ka ng e-ready, ang first prepaid emergency health card from Maxicare. Sagot ang sakit ng katawan, sagot din ang sakit sa bulsa. Pag emergency, sagot ka ng Maxicare e-ready.
Kanina pa masama yung pakiramdam ko. Obo. Sipon. Masakit ang ulo. Nilagnat na rin yata ako. Sa tingin ko, hindi ko na kaya pumunta sa ospital. Dok, anong gagawin ko?
First of all, you really need to rest. Kailan nagsimula ang pananakit ng ulo at pag-ubo mo?
Kahapon pa po ng umaga, Dok.
Nag-check mo na ba temperature mo?
Care is just a call away.
With Maxicare's 24/7 teleconsult service, every Maxicare principal member and their dependent gets free expert medical consultation from reliable Maxicare partner doctors anywhere at any time.
Sa Maxicare 24/7 teleconsult service, ang alaga parang nariyan lang. Maxicare.
Si Mama, unlimited ang pagmamahal. Kaya unlimited din ang pasasalamat ko sa kanya. It's time to give back with Maxicare Primo Gold, the affordable prepaid health card for senior citizens.
Good morning, Maxicare members. Welcome to Maxi Life Wellness Fridays featuring financial wellness, the fundamentals of New Year's resolutions with Edric Mendoza. Already, I want to say hi to Kay. Justin, Lovely is part of this morning's event. Thanks so much for being here. Rain, wow, what a nice name. Rochelle is also here. Hi to you. And Alex Maggie, and so many of you wonderful Maxicare members. You know, this is another Maxicare offering for all of you because Maxicare wants you to live your best life and because your financial wellness is also something that they give great importance to. I'm Patricia Bermudez-Hizon, and I'm so happy to be your host for today because me, honestly, I too am on a constant wellness journey, especially when it comes to finances. Money matters affects us on so many levels, our confidence, our relationships, and even our physiological health. So I'm thrilled to be here with you today because we'll all learn a lot together and because we are still at the start of the year. So I'm really excited to hear from our speaker, honestly, registered financial planner Edric Mendoza, who is also the host of the popular digital show on Plus Network, Fundamentals. I know that this event is just beginning, but already we'd like to thank all of you for being here today. Our hearts are full and we still have a few minutes to go before we officially start. But while we're waiting for that, to ensure a systematic flow, meaningful interaction, and best overall webinar experience that we can provide you, we humbly ask for your cooperation in following our events guidelines. To get and make the most of this webinar experience, dedicate an undivided attention to the speaker and ensure that you are physically in an area without any potential interruptions and noise. Do avoid multitasking and address any internet connection issues before the webinar officially begins. Let's also observe Zoom etiquette and best practices. At this moment, the participants' video and audio settings are disabled. We do, however, encourage you to rename yourselves and please put your first and your last name. So I really appreciate the likes of Erica Miode, Etherbert, Ervina, although that's a little bit hard for me to say, but welcome to all of you. Now, did you know that you can also adjust the size of the window of the panelists and of course the document that's being shared. So this is what you need to do. First, click on speaker view and select the side-by-side view option. In between the window you're seeing me on right now and the window with the instructions beside me, there is a border or a line in between, and you can actually check or click on that and move it from side to side to adjust the size of the screen to your liking. You can try it right now. So you can make me bigger or make the document bigger. Now, you can engage with the speaker via chat, yes, but when it comes to the formal Q&A portion, the only questions that will be entertained come from the Q&A box. Now, you may send your questions while the presentation is ongoing, but these will only be answered during the Q&A portion. The questions may be answered through the Q&A box by our staff or answered live by the speaker. So again, please rename yourself so we can properly address you. Thanks in advance. Unruly and disruptive behavior will not be tolerated, as this may affect our participants' webinar experience. Now, if you like today's event, you can share your thoughts and experiences after the event through your social media accounts using the hashtags Live Your Best Life and hashtag Maxicare Wellness Fridays. And please don't forget to tag Maxicare using their social media handles. On Facebook, it's at Maxicare Healthcare Corp. Their official IG is at Maxicare Healthcare. Their health and wellness IG is at Maxicare Health and Wellness. And then you can also subscribe to their YouTube channel, Maxicare Healthcare Corporation. Wow, that's a lot. We are as excited as you are to get going. But before we finally start this event, we will have a series of poll questions for everyone. All you need to do is click on the answer that best suits you as fast as you can. Are you guys ready? Here is our exciting first poll question. What is your New Year's financial resolution? You can choose more than one here. Reset my financial goals, pay all my debt, get an insurance, start building my emergency fund, try investing, or if there are no options there that suit you, you can chat it away. I'm going to be looking at our chat box to see what you guys will be sharing here in terms of New Year's financial resolutions. Ako siguro, resetting my financial goals was a big part of my New Year's resolution, apart from some health resolutions that are connected to my finances. Diba? Health is wealth. But let's take a look at your answers here. Try investing. That's great. That's so interesting. That's the number one answer. And the second best answer is start building my emergency fund. Great, guys. Here's our second question for you. If you would give a piece of advice to your 2020 self, ano yun? Will it be to spend less than you earn? Delete your online shopping apps, may mga matatamaan, only borrow what you can afford or you can return, grow your money, save for future spending, or may iba pa ba dyan na gusto nyong i-chat sa amin that you would give as an advice to your 2020 self? Sana, sasabihin ko sana, eat less. Pero I think we're talking more about finances here. So let me know what you would give as an advice to your 2020 self. Grow your money. I love that. So we have growth mindset for many of the people here. And the second one is save for future spending. I think we have the perfect crowd for this morning. Here now is our third poll question. Yung totoo, what is your first purchase of the year? Nag-brand new phone or gadget ka ba? Anong klaseng gadget yan? New pair of shoes? Groceries agad? Items in your online shopping cart? Talagang nag-check out ka na? Wala pa so far. Or pwede namang sabihin mo sa amin via chat, bumili ka ba kagad ng car, ng house and lot, ng bagong-bagong wardrobe? Ano ba? Ang mga na-purchase mo at the start of the year. Kakaumpisa pa lang natin. Ano dyan yung mga first purchases mo? Interesting ha? I'd love to see grocery. Syempre, dahil ba sa New Year celebration? But apart from that, really far second is yung items on your online shopping cart. Yung mga hinintay mo. Tingnan mo muna kung may bonus ka. But that's very revealing. Thanks so much for sharing. Ito, last na lang. This is a serious question and you have to really think about it. When it comes to money matters, does your health get affected? Yung hindi ka na makatulog, di ka makakain, di ka makafunction, may mga ganon na, or nagkakasakit na nga dahil sa money matters. Yes or no? Ang dami siguro dito. Sige, hintayin ko na lang yung result ha. Because sometimes we all know that things that really occupy our minds causes stress or anxiety. Pero sige, tingnan natin kung ano yung mga sagot nyo. Our survey says majority is no, but not so far behind. Actually, parang 50-50 na nga yung resulta natin dito eh. There are a lot of people that definitely get affected. Their health get affected. As I was saying, sometimes the things that causes stress or anxiety are related to what's going on in our heads, and sometimes it's about tangible problems in our lives. Now, worrying about money, that's a common issue, and it can cause a huge amount of stress. In fact, some studies share that money is a top cause for stress, and we know that stress can negatively affect our health, even contribute to chronic illnesses, chronic health problems such as diabetes, heart disease, depression, gastrointestinal problems, and other things. Kaya I am just so happy that we are talking about finances for our first Wellness Friday session this day and this year. Well, it looks like you guys are ready to go. Let's officially start our Maxicare Wellness Fridays. Welcome to Maxicare's Maxi Life Wellness Fridays, Financial Wellness, the fundamentals of New Year's resolution with Edric Mendoza. Again, I'm Patricia Bermudez. He's on, your host for this event. You'll be able to start this year right as you learn more about financial security and growth, begin picturing a vision board for your finances, and pivot losses to opportunities, turn old and bad ways into purposeful and intentional money habits. And of course, these all will be very helpful for all of us, especially this time as we begin the year with our financial resolutions. I won't let you guys wait any longer. Let me formally introduce our speaker. He is the chairman of Homeschool Global Learning Incorporated, founder and chairman of the Homeschooling Association of the Philippine Islands, founder of the Parent Schooling Corporation, former lead anchor and writer of ABS-CBN's news channels On the Money, and host of Plus Network show on personal finance fundamentals. Here to talk about the fundamentals of New Year's resolutions, please welcome registered financial planner with US-based global certification, Edric Mendoza. Hey, Edric.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me today. Can you guys see me clearly and hear me? I hope I am loud and clear. How is it looking, Patricia?
It's great. I'm looking forward to your talk, Edric. Take it away.
Okay, so, as part of the introduction that Patricia gave me, my passion and the reason I am here with you all is because my desire is to help change the world one family at a time. So sa mga that have been able to hear me before, those have been able to hear me speak everywhere I go and have the privilege of speaking, I like to open up with this line. Can you please chat in the box with me and say, magbago ka na? Yan. Chat in the box with me. Yan. Kita pa natin yung comment ni Candido dito about house tools, one of his first purchases. Everybody else, magbago ka na. That is our desire as we go into 2021 and we look at our financial resolutions. Sana po all of us will leave here, even in this short window that I'm clocking in right now. I hope that we will all leave here changed somehow. How are we going to change today? I've been asked to share with this amazing Maxicare team and the guys behind Plus to talk a little bit about financial resolutions. Pero ito po, I want to take it a little bit higher. What I would like to do is I want to share 5 fundamental financial resolutions. Pero ito po, if you're able to do these things, my firm belief is it will be life-changing. It's not just another switch. We want to have some fundamental changes as we go into this new year. Marami pong uncertainty, and if we really want to go forward well, I highly encourage you, we need to have some fundamental changes. So 5 fundamental financial resolutions that can be life-changing if you will do it. So as we get started, then morning po, let's do some quick stretches. If you guys will do this with me, wherever you are, we're gonna do 5 quick exercises and stretches. So you need to work with me, all right? Everybody, are you ready? The first one is like this, simple lang, close, open. All right, let's do that 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and your turn. 5. Very good. Okay, number 2. What I need for you guys to do is simple. So get the neck muscles moving. Let's do this. Look up, point and look up. Okay, that's 1. Again, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5. All right, exercise number 3. What are we gonna do now? I need you to do this. This is a little bit of fine motor skills. All right, so 1, all right, and then this. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. So you're thinking at this point, ano connection nito? Why are we doing this in a money discussion? Bear with me. We got 2 more. Here we go. Number 4. I need you to just do this simple. 1 and 2. All right. Let's do that 5 times. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Finally, and 5. Very good, everybody. Last one. Simple lang po ito sa mga NBA fans, those that like NBA, if you followed it. This is one of the legends. His name is Mutombo. I need you to do this with me, like this. If you watch the basketball, not in my house. Again, let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Why in the world did we do that? I said I want to share with you 5 financial resolutions that can be life-changing if you do it. Those actions will be what we use to help remember those 5. Okay po ba yan? I am a homeschool guy, so I love engaging in whatever senses are possible so that we can make this a rich learning experience that hopefully, again, will not just be fun and entertaining and inspiring, but will be life-changing. Let me now hit you with something to think about. As we look at these resolutions, ito po ang tanong ko sa inyo. Are you able to apply this line of William Faulkner? I love what he says. He says this. Let me read from this. He says, you cannot swim for new horizons until you have courage to lose sight of the shore. I'll say that again. You cannot swim for new horizons until you have courage to lose sight of the shore. As we move into 2021, if we really want to effect change, see something different in our lives, really life-changing, we need to start focusing more on what's happening ahead of us instead of still holding on to much of what is behind us. We need to look at the new horizons instead of focusing on the shore. Are you ready to do that? If you're ready to do that, chat in the box and say yes or oo. I'm ready to look at 2021 and new horizons. Go. Engage me, chat. Very good. Thank you. Ang bilis ni Christina. Thank you, Lizette. Excellent. Refer us. Yes, let's do this. Let's go forward. We're ready to let go of the past and move on to 2021. And as we do this, the 5 things I will share with you are inspired by a line of Dave Ramsey, one of the financial gurus in America who I respect. He said that personal finance is 80% behavior and only 20% skills and head knowledge. Marami na pong seminar about skills. And if you watch Fundamentals, you see a number of those things we also share there. If you caught my past talk with this amazing Maxicare team, I also talked about BEST and some financial principles that you can apply. So now I thought, if we're going to apply some financial principles in our resolutions, it has to be something more powerful, more potent. We're going to try and change behavior. Hindi lang po skills and some head knowledge. We want to change behavior. So these 5 that we're going to look at will have to do with behavior. Let's get started with the first one. What was our first action earlier? Like this, close, open. The first resolution that I encourage all of us to embrace so that we might experience life change is to shift our mind to think, be a steward, not an owner. Be a steward, not an owner, right? Be a steward, not an owner. What does that mean? The word steward comes from the English. And back in the days where you had kingdoms and lords, right? In this time, a steward was somebody who actually didn't own anything. Wala siyang possessions. He would live with his lord or his master, and he would take care of the possessions of the master, depending on his role. And as he did that, then the master would now allow him to live and raise a family and be able to take care of things and have a property and different possessions. But really, they're all from the master. The master or the Lord owned everything. The steward was just taking care of all of these things. So it's so important that when we look and approach money, if we want to experience something very different, mga kapamilya, friends, Maxicare clients, and the team who's watching this, right? My encouragement is we do this. Okay, you know what? I am not an owner. I'm just a steward. I'm just here to take care of things. And I love this campaign of one of the most luxurious high-end watch brands in the world called Patek Philippe. If some of you are wearing that watch, congratulations. Patek Philippe, arguably one of the most luxurious, most expensive, high-end watches in the world, they had a campaign that really actually spoke to me. It talks to us about this idea of being a steward. I'll read to you the line in that campaign. It says, "You never really own a Patek Philippe. You merely look after it for the next generation." Ang ganda, di ba? I'll say it again. You never really own a Patek Philippe. You merely look after it for the next generation, which is so true. None of the things that we seemingly own or possess or earn are things we can take with us. When we die, it's going to all be left behind here for the next generations to now use. So the question is, while it was in our possession, what did we do with it? We need to remember that. We need to remember that at the end of the day, we really can't keep any of these things. So it's best as early as now, 2021, magbabago na tayo. We need to have this as a resolution. Today, I will choose to say, I don't own anything. I'm just a steward. I need to, instead of this, holding on tightly, I need to do this. Now, let me make this a little bit more personal. At pagpasensya ninyo ako, I'm going to be sharing a couple of personal things. This is the way I like to share and I like to talk so that you see that these things I share are not just in my head. They've changed me. They're literally real. Early on, in my career, I used to be corporate before I went entrepreneurship. In one of my jobs that will remain anonymous, ganun po ako. I used to think like an owner. I used to think that, I work hard, so I owe it to myself to buy things and to feel good about the things I get. And I work hard so that I can get things that I own for me, for my family, di ba? Kasi I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a breadwinner. I want to be able to provide. So in this season, in this particular corporate job, I remember, kung katulad niyo po ako, I had peers, friends, office mates who were starting to buy new cars, things. And I said to myself, hey, you know what? Ako rin, I want to buy something new. As a family man, I had, I believe, 2 going 3 kids. At sa mga hindi nakakaalam, I have 6 children. Yes, you can count that, all from the same mother and father. And yeah, last I checked, right? So on the way to the 3rd child, our family was growing. I figured, hey, it would be nice to now have a family van for my family. And since I was working hard, I wanted to be able to buy that van. And so I figured I would compute how much it would cost. I couldn't buy it outright, so I looked for a car loan that would make sense. And even in the longest amortization, hindi ko pa afford given my salary at that time. So I figured, you know what? My boss at that time said that I was going to get a promotion. So I factored in the promotion. Sabi ko, siguro ito mabibigay na promotion. And with that, afford. I can buy it. So I pulled out the loan, got my brand new family van, and I was driving it. And you know that new car smell? I was driving it and I felt good. I was driving around feeling like, wow, you know what? I'm such a good dad. I'm such a good husband. I feel great, because this is my car. I've earned this. I owe it to myself to feel good so that people around me also will say, wow, look, taking care of his family, good family man. So I was doing that, but here's why I'm sharing the story. I thought that I would get the promotion. Hindi po nangyari. And because I did not get the promotion, as I mentioned earlier, I couldn't afford the amortization. So what happened? I had to find ways to fund the amortization. I had to use some of my extra cash, and then it started to become savings. And then it became even the investments I had for my kids' future. And you know what? Not my wife at that time did not know that this was happening to me. My closest friends, relatives, families, office mates, kids, nobody knew. But there was this growing stress in my heart and in my life because I was running out of money. Wala na akong pagkukunan. All of the sources that I already tapped, because it kept going and there was no increase from me, lahat na ng racket, right? Everything that was moral, legal, and ethical that I could do to get extra cash, it just wasn't enough to fund that amortization I was paying for the vehicle. So it came to a point where my boss at that time said, it's time for a performance review. And I was praying. I said, dear God, please let my boss tell me that I have a promotion because I badly need this for my financial situation. So I sat with the boss, gave me an evaluation, and at the end of the evaluation, walang binanggit. There was no mention of a promotion. So as she sat there in front of me, she ended the evaluation, said, Edric, is there anything more you want to discuss? And I looked at her with all the manliness in me. I tried to contain it. And I said, nothing. And then because of all the pressure, and she did not say I was promoted, I started to break down. A tear fell from my eye and I couldn't control it. The next thing I knew, I was sobbing like a baby. Yung humahagulgul, ganun. and I put my hand up in front of her face, in front of my face to hide it like this. I was crying really hard, and I looked at her a little bit to see her reaction, and her face was like this. She was in shock because here I am, this big grown-up man, right, crying in front of her during a performance review. It's one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. But I'm sharing this because the kindness of her heart, she said, "What's wrong? What happened?" And I said, "I've made some bad financial decisions, and I was banking on a promotion. I thought I was going to expect this because you'd mentioned something." So she said, "You know what? I can help you out personally," right? And I said, no, it's okay. But here's what I said to her. I said, "If there's anything that I can do, moral, legal, and ethical, to earn that promotion, let me know, and I will push myself. I will do whatever it takes." Tapos ang usapan, fast forward, nothing happens. Didn't really get much feedback, so I was still stressed. So what I did was, I met somebody who reminded me of this first principle we're talking about. What is this first principle, this resolution we need to have? We need to remember something, right? What is it? Be a steward, not an owner. Don't hold things too tightly, right? So here's what happened. I sought some advice, and this one person who spoke to me said it straight. And sometimes you need people to tell you things straight. Ang sabi po niya sa akin diretso, ang sabi niya, "Edric, parang mali. What you're telling me is that you owe it to yourself to buy yourself these things, to feel good about yourself, and because you feel like you own these things anyway, then you can go ahead and do it, right?" And I'm like, "Yes." And she said, "That's where you're wrong. I want to remind you, Edric, that we don't own anything. And really, we're just stewards." And I'm a faith guy, I'm a Christian, I'm a spiritual guy. So she said, "You know what, Edric, I want to remind you that it's really God who owns everything, and your job is just to be a good steward of what he gives you. The more you try and hold on to these things, the more stress you will experience like you have right now. But the more you let it go, and the more you just say, okay, God, you show me where you want me to use these things, the more peace you will have and the less stress." And you know what? I needed that. So I applied it. Sabi ko, "Oh, nga, no?" So I said, "Okay, God, you own everything. Ipakita mo sa akin. You show me where you want me to put my money or your money. You show me what you want me to get, how you want me to do these things." And that whole fundamental shift of becoming a steward led to some good things. If I can share with you what happened, after a few months of trying to practice that, trying to be better steward and trying to look at everything very differently, I got the promotion. Siguro naawa sa akin yung boss ko. Maybe some of you've heard this story of mine already before. Siguro naawa sa akin, but no, she gave me the promotion, and the promotion was more than what I was expecting. So you know what? Fortunately, I paid off that bad debt. If you heard my talk about debt in my last, I talked about bad debt. I paid off that bad debt, and since that point, I've had no more bad debt ever since. It's been amazing. Such a great turnaround. And as a result of that, not only did I get the promotion, get clear of that debt, I moved from corporate to entrepreneurship, and voila, here I am. I'm really living a life I do not deserve. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as I carry on. But that was a very painful but powerful experience for me. And I pray that none of you have to suffer that humiliating experience or even the stress. Pero baka sa totoo lang, some of you are experiencing that right now. And my encouragement to you is, right now, if you want to experience life change in this first resolution, what do we need to do? Be a steward, not an owner. You need to let go and say, I don't really own these things. And ask yourself, who is it that you're stewarding it for? In my case, I said it honestly, it's God's. I agreed that it's all God. So God, you show me what I'm going to do with these things. And I've had peace ever since as a result of that. So what is the application to us in this first resolution of being a steward and not an owner? The first application I want to share with you guys, the first in this principle, is there's really 4 things you want to do with money as we steward it. We need to earn, obviously. So we work hard, we do our best, and we work smart, right? We want to make sure that we don't just go about work, hustle lang ng hustle, putting in all the hours, but we're not working smart, right? I love this story of this soap factory where there was a problem with the soap bar because they did not, the customers were getting an empty soap box. Bimili silang sabon, walang laman. So the company developed state-of-the-art laser technology to be able to scan every box. And as they opened up the factory and the plant to launch this, all the executives, the investors, the R&D team were there. They were about to cut the ribbon with this new machine. When on the next assembly line, with the soap boxes coming out, they saw a simple assembly line worker with an electric fan blowing out the empty boxes. So they realized, what have we spent all our money behind? We want to make sure we work Smart, not just hard. So ask yourself, in the area of earning, are you working smart and not just hard? It's so important. Second thing we do with money is we give. And I'm going to talk a lot about that in my next point. But giving, we need to remember that give, and it will come back to us. It's one of the most counterintuitive principles in personal finance that I've experienced. And if you've seen my whole episode on this on fundamentals, you'll know why. Number three, we need to obviously save and invest as good stewards. So not only do we work hard to be able to earn something, we also give, and then we save and invest towards goals. It's so important. I say this over and over and over in the area of money. Don't just save and invest for the sake of saving and investing. Save and invest towards goals. Ano ba yung pupuntahan ng pera? That way, there's a direction for the money. And that way, you can create a vision board. Are you saving and investing for new business? Put that picture so you see it, 2021, hashtag goal, business. That's what I'm saving and investing for this year. Or could it be the college education of your kids? Or could it be for a new vehicle or a trip as the pandemic protocols change? Whatever that is, part of what you want to do as a good steward is, okay, as I earn, as I give, as I save and invest, what am I saving and investing towards? Put that up there. And then finally, of course, to be able to spend not just on your needs to get by, but things that you can also enjoy, things that are part of your wants. But I would encourage you, think about money and steward it in that way. Earn first, give second, save and invest third, and then spend. That could be a way to now be a better steward of whatever resources God has given you. And I want you to imagine that you're going to report it, right? As you do these things, you will report and say, here's what I have done with the money, because that's what a good steward does. When you know you have to report it, you're accountable to somebody. You won't just randomly spend and earn, and you'll do it smart. You'll do it well. That is the first principle. Be a steward. Ayan. So all of you, please do it with me. Be a steward, right? And you can chat that in the box. Number one, be a steward. Go. Let's move to number two. Ayan, mga kaibigan. What is number two? We need to invest in eternity. Yeah, that's the second action. You can do that with me wherever you are. Pampagising din ito, invest in eternity. Right? What is investing in eternity? Big words. You know, I love this idea because in the world of investing, nobody really talks about investing in eternity. We talk about short-term, medium-term, long-term. We talk about, you know, aggressive investing. And recently, as I talked to a private banker of ours, they talked to me about adventurous as a new investor profile, adventurous. So there are all these discussions, but really investing towards eternity, is it something talked about? What is that? And what does this mean? And what does it look like? Basically, it's also investing towards goals, right? I talked about how important that is. And again, you can catch one of the fundamentals episodes where I talk about this. You ask yourself, what is my financial goal? When do I need it? And how much do I need for that goal? If you're able to put those three together, you're on your way to achieving it better. Then you can do some math and say, okay, kung yan ang kailangan ko, how much can I set aside now? And if it's not enough, up until that point, what is the investment return it needs to make to get that? That's a good way to think through those goals. But more than that, investing in eternity is now saying things like, am I able to give money, financial resources, or things to people who can't give anything back? That's a form of eternal investing because there is no actual financial gain back. Instead, it is altruistic. It is to give to those who can't. And those who are struggling, to give to those who are less fortunate. And in the Philippines, there's so many of these opportunities around us. So I think the challenge for us is nagiging parang matigas ang puso natin. So we need to find a way to say, okay, who are the people we can give to? Give to those who can't give anything back. And let me just show you a really quick book. Yeah. So, you know, it's really interesting. This book that I like, God and Money, it's written by a bunch of Harvard guys. They put together some research and they were able to discover in one of their data points that if the world's wealthiest gave 1% lang po, they would be able to wipe away extreme poverty as we know it. I'll say that again. If the world's wealthiest gave 1%, only 1% of their wealth, that amount can wipe out extreme poverty from the face of this planet. But why is there still extreme poverty? Because people don't give. We are wired to get pa more instead of give pa more. So can you chat that in the box? One of my favorite hashtags, give pa more, go. Chat it in the box with me, guys. Give pa more. I encourage us. We need to invest in eternity. We need to find ways to give. You know, give to those who can't give anything back. For those of you that are connected to a local church, give to your local church, right? To help support the work that they're doing also. These are eternal givings, and give to wherever God leads you. That is probably the most challenging one. Let me tell you something that I probably never shared in a public gathering ever before. Did you know that there was a season where God said, empty out these bank accounts and give it? And that was the hardest thing for me to hear. I'm like, Lord, ikaw ba talaga yan? Really? You know, and I just said, okay, I'll do it. I emptied out these bank accounts. Now, to be honest, there wasn't much in them, but there was still money there, right? I emptied it and it was terrifying, but you know what? God has replenished it in amazing ways. So there's something so powerful about this idea of giving. So give. There's so many opportunities to give, guys, that will really bless your hearts in so many different ways and really are investing in eternity. Let me give you an example. So my wife, right? Let me show you another book. My wife, right here, my wife has an amazing journey all of her own, and it's not the subject for our discussion, but part of what God allowed her in her journey is something quite painful happened to her in her journey. And some of you may have heard this before or seen it. And as a result of this, she felt like, for her and her family, God wanted them to share it. So she shared it. She wrote a book, and this is the book here, right? When a good God allows rape. This is our family back when we were a lot, maybe smaller and younger. So she writes this book, and you know what? As she writes this, her desire is really just to be able to help people going through pain and struggles. And as she wrote this book, we were surprised. She was surprised that it became a bestseller under the publisher OMF. And the way it works with publishing is you get your royalties 1 year later. So 1 year later, my wife forgets about this because my wife, she's such a good heart. She doesn't do this. Me, I'm like this. I'm Ilocano, so I like to hold on to things and money. She doesn't really care about. So she didn't really care. And so she goes, hey, honey, I got a call from the publisher and the check has come in. And remember, best-selling book. So me, I'm a financial guy. I'm like, naku, wow, that should be good royalties. Praise God. Hallelujah. We have money. I was very excited to receive the money. And this is my wife. God bless her heart. She goes, honey, I feel like God is asking me to give all of this to him because the Bible tells us you give your first fruit. And again, it's like that moment in the past where I said, honey, are you sure that's really God? Baka iba yan. Baka, because I was like, this is good money. This is around the time that I had left TV, so our income sources were getting a little bit tight. So I figured this is such a godsend. But you know what? I said, this is God's money. What did we learn earlier? Steward, right? Okay, God, I want to be able to invest in eternity. It's all your money. And technically it's my wife's earnings. If she wants to put it there, then all right. So she said, so in my mind, I was thinking to myself, maybe I can convince her to just give maybe a part and we'll take the rest. But I kept that quiet. I said, okay, baby, if you really feel like God wants you to do that, then go ahead. And you know what? She did. And a part of me was like, okay, we got to trust God here. A few days later, I kid you not, we get a call. And when my wife gets this call, if you know my wife does collaborations online, social media stuff with clients, etc. A client called and made a pitch and said, Joy, we would like to get you for a collaboration. And they gave the amount. And when she said the amount, Joy was very cool. Me, I was like this. It was 25 times more than the amount that she had given. Now, I'm not saying that God is a genie, that if you give, he will give you 25 times more than what you give, right? But I'm telling you there's something about our heart condition where our disposition is to take, is to get. But if we want to experience powerful change in our life, resolution number 2 is this, right? Invest in eternity. Start learning to give. And that's what I learned from this experience with my wife. I'm like, wow, it's the most counterintuitive personal finance principle, but it is powerful. When you invest in eternity, not only are you freeing yourself from any of these holds, but you're allowing yourself the opportunity to take whatever God still might want to give you. And in our case, it was that. In others, it might be something different. So that is so important. So the practical application, everybody, investing in eternity, practical application is this. I encourage you, give generously. Now, some of you are saying, Edric, hindi mo alam ang dinadaanan ko. You don't know what we're going through. I cannot give anything. Sure. But let me encourage you with something. There was a missionary I came across, and some of you may have heard this story, maybe through to the Fundamentals show, right? There was a missionary I came across who ministered to the poorest region in the poorest region of Africa. So really poor area, where in one tribe, if I remember the story correctly, one tribe has one chicken for the whole week. That's how poor they were. So this missionary is about to leave the tribe, and as she leaves, the chief gives her a chicken. So the missionary says, I can't take this chicken. I know what it means to you. Sir, please take it back. She gives the chicken back to the chief. But the chief says, Madam, I would like to remind you that no one is too poor to give, nor too rich to receive. So she received the chicken with a lighter heart. And that's what I wanted to encourage us all with. We get surprised. If we really look hard enough, there's actually something that we can still give. Nobody's too poor to give, nor too rich to receive. So my application for all of us, give generously. Number 2. Number 3. So let's recap our actions, right? The first action, do it with me again. What is it? It's this: be a steward, not an owner. Number 2, it's invest in eternity. And number 3 is this: turn your pain, this is sign language for pain, into gain. All right, let's do that. Pain into gain. What does that mean? We know the expression, right? No pain, no gain. I work out with my kids and we tell ourselves this, pain is just a construct. No pain, no gain. We push hard. But have you ever thought that pain can be used for gain? I mean, the pain itself can be gain. I never thought about that until I prepared this message for you guys. So I want to share with you, do we look at the challenges of our life as something that can actually be used powerfully? I'll show you another book. So I got a lot of books I want to share with you. This book here is from Les Parrott, right? 3 seconds. And he talks about an amoeba. Now, if you all know amoeba, it's one of the most basic life forms or organisms, right? In a body, in any living organism. So this amoeba, this basic life form, they did an experiment. They said, if we get this amoeba and remove it from its environment where it's stimulated, there's disease, all sorts of stuff that can affect it, theoretically, it will thrive and bloom and blossom because there's no more stress, nothing to stimulate it. It's all pure as an environment. So they did that. They took the amoeba, and when they took the amoeba out, instead of their theory of it thriving and growing, you know what happened to the amoeba? A few moments after it was taken out, it died. So even at the fundamental organism level, we are reminded that actually stress, challenge, stimulus is good for us to grow. And I wanted to start with that perspective because when we look at turning pain into gain, we need to embrace the challenges of our life, whatever they are right now. At hindi ko po alam kung ano yan. I'm sure for others it's different. For others, again, it would be different. But I want to challenge you to look at it and frame it as, could this be something that can be gain for me? Let me make it more practical. I got to interview a guest named Sandy Montano years ago. And when I guested her on my show back with ANC's On the Money, when I guested her, I was really blown away by her story and the achievements, talking about pain into gain. Here's what happened to her. And I have the actual transcript of our conversation. So let me just read a snippet of it so you get an idea of the story of Sandy Montano. Here's her story. I was a student in Baguio, a nursing student, she said in our interview. And then I was one of those survivors of the Baguio earthquake back in 1990. She was under the rubble. It was a miracle for me to survive because during that time, my professor told me to go out because the building was shaking. And then the professor didn't tell us what to do, to cover our head, to run to the street or what. They just went everywhere. So she thought of going to her boarding house to get her stuff until the boarding house rolled down. So during the first few hours, she was underneath all of the rubble from the boarding house. And she thought of preserving her energy because nobody could hear me. So she said, I kept on singing, thinking of happy moments. I tried to conserve my energy. And then so I would just let the hours pass by. And I felt like I'm getting very hungry. I felt that I'm getting very thirsty. I thought of there was a time that I was able to eat nutritious, delicious food in the house. So I was trying to counteract what I was feeling at the moment, she said. So until such time that I really felt that there was a separation of my body and my soul, something like that. And I could see stars and bright stars, she said. That's the time I started thinking about home. I'm crying. And I was even thinking of, in case I will perish today, my parents would not be able to see me. It was a miracle because a sniffing dog found me, she said. And I was rescued when they found me. And this was 3 days later. I was already unconscious, she said. They found that I still had a pulse. And she said, I was part of the cadavers. I want you to hear this. I was part of the cadavers. Ito po yung mga dead body. I was part of the cadavers in Burnham Park. During the time, after 4 hours of being one of the cadavers in Burnham Park, so they retrieved her body, felt the pulse, but it seemed like she was dead. So they put her as a cadaver. 4 hours she was there. She was able to regain consciousness. She said, oh, I can still breathe. She started to feel her knees, her hands, feet. So she said, I have no place to stay because all of the dead bodies were there. And because at that time in Baguio, it was cramped, stinky, there was nothing at all. The communication was stopped, was cut. There was no internet even at that time, right? So that was her life. She said in the following days, to be able to survive, they had to get food. But because they were locked in, right? The food were sardines, noodles, rice. But how can we cook the rice? Hindi nila makain. They have no kitchenware. So they really struggled eating raw eggs and all of these things. So after 2 days in Burnham Park, she said, when I was able to regain my strength, we walked with some of the survivors, and I want you to hear this, okay? We walked, and then we thought of why don't we get out of Baguio and just walk? She was from Pangasinan. So it's no longer healthy for us to breathe in the stinky odor of this air, all the death. They had to walk down along Marcos Highway all the way through La Union until Pangasinan. It took her, I asked her on the camera, here's my question. I said, so how many days after you left Burnham did you finally go back to your home and be with your family? Alam mo po sinabi niya, you know what she said? After 5 days. So 3 days of being under the rubble, 2 days of surviving with other cadavers, and then 5 days of walking down. Ladies and gentlemen, mga kapamilya, do you think you have problems? She has some major problems, Sandy Montano, which is why I was reminded of her story. Why am I sharing this with you? Sandy Montano, like all of us, when we are with challenges, whatever they look like, we have a choice. And we want to ask ourselves, can we turn our pain into gain? What she did, Sandy Montano, because of that story, she went back into Manila, did some rehab because she was traumatized, right? She finished her nursing. And instead of pursuing all of this, she said, I need to find a way to help in emergency situations, to help disaster recovery. So that's what she did. With her nursing background and with people who were shocked at what happened, they tried to create programs to prepare people better for emergency and disaster. And you know what gain happened as a result of all of those initiatives of Sandy Montano, which is why I guested her on that show back then. She became the first ASEAN Woman Leader Awardee. And she became the first ASEAN Woman Entrepreneur Awardee as a result of the initiatives she created in helping rescue people or respond better in emergency situations. At first, she was very reluctant to think about it because of all the trauma, but she overcame that and has now helped countless and thousands of lives, not just here, but around Asia and the world. So let's take a cue from Sandy Montano. What is our third resolution? If you want to experience life change starting in 2021 in the area of money or any other area, I encourage you, ask yourself, what are these challenges and problems that I'm facing? Can I turn this pain into gain? That is the application. Can we become, instead of a victim, can we become a victor? Look at the challenges and problems in your life, and here's the application. Ask, how can I turn this into something good? Maybe even something profitable, like the case of Sandy Montano. That's what we want to ask ourselves. And number 3, turn pain into gain. Let's move on to number 4. We're doing good time. We're winding down. Number 4 is this. Choose the great things. Before we go there, can you chat me in the box and say, turn pain into gain? Ayan, mga kapamilya, turn pain into gain. Please chat that in the box with me. Move to number 4. Choose the great things. The great things. I am a firm believer in this expression that life is a sum of the choices we make. Hindi po ba? It's the reality. Our life today is a sum of the choices we've made all throughout our life. I'm hitting my mid-40s, and in this season, I'm seeing peers, friends, relatives, and people from all walks experience the results of the choices they have made. Some tragically have perished, have died because of bad health choices or stress, bad relationship choices, bad money choices. Some have done well because of good choices. All of the cumulative effects, it's not so much a one-time, big-time choice. It's a cumulative effect of all the choices are what actually shape us today. And so my encouragement in resolution number 4 is to choose great things. Start looking at these choices that we are faced with and realize there are really only 3 options. in the choices we make. We will either make bad choices, we will make good choices, or we will make great choices. And I encourage us, this fundamental shift in the area of money and in all other areas of our life actually, is to start identifying which ones are bad, don't choose that. Which ones are good, possible to choose that, but start seeing what are the great choices that we need to make so that in the area of money and in all the other areas, we will experience greater things. For example, I'll bring it home for me. Again, another sharing of mine. Maybe some of you have heard this story of mine. So part of my journey as I moved from into entrepreneurship, I was a homeschooling guy. And in one of these features of homeschooling, I actually got connected to ANC, and the ANC team invited me to take on a show on personal finance. So I accepted and I started talking about that even while I was running this homeschool business. And as I was doing that, more doors opened up. I got invited to be part of the morning show of ANC, which was reinventing itself because new competitors had come up like Bloomberg TV Philippines, CNN Philippines. So they wanted, in the words of the executives, an all-star cast. And I was invited. So I was thrilled to be part of the all-star cast together with people like Gretchen Home, right? And amazing new anchors and personalities. So we were part of the cast. I was privileged to be part of that. And it was good, easy money, to be very honest with you guys. You know, I didn't have to do any preparations. I would come in, they would make me up and tell me who I would talk to. And then I would just talk to them, have some fun. And I would get all these sort of perks and freebies because it was a morning show. They would give books, food, access to hotels, you know, all of these things. I was loving it. But it's an early morning show and it was taking toll on my time with my family. So my kids, one day, my wife goes, honey, I think the kids want to talk to you. And, you know, we have this culture where we ask our kids how we can improve. I asked my wife asked me how we can improve. So I said, okay, I sat them down. I said, kids, how can daddy improve? And usually they'll say, oh, daddy, you're doing good. You're great. So I figured it would be one of those moments. But this time, the older two, who at that time, my eldest was turning about 14. So really trying to become a man, right? The younger one was 10. And these two were the ones who reacted differently. The other ones, the younger ones were like, daddy, you're so busy. But the older two are a little bit more serious. The second one, his name is Eden, is like, daddy, I don't know why you have to have so many jobs. And then the first one stands up. He's trying to compose himself. His name is Elijah. And he's trying to fight the emotion in him. And he's like, dad, yeah, you know, I don't know why you become so busy. And I want to remind you of something. He starts turning to a side like this, right? With dramatic effect. He goes, there are more important things in life than making money. And I was like, big words. And then he looks away, trying to fight a tear. And he goes, dad, I will pray for you. And when he said that, of course, I said, I need to pay attention. So I said, okay, kids, thank you for sharing all these things. Daddy will change. So that night, I kid you not, I wrote the network. I said, you know, I've loved this morning show. It's been amazing. I've been privileged to be with the crew, but I would like to ask that you please release me from my contract because, to be honest, I've become too busy. And my kids have noticed this and they've reached out to me, in fact, just tonight. So I'm prepared to face the consequences of this if necessary, you know, but I would appreciate if you can just extend grace. And cut the story short, they responded, said, we totally understand. We release you and there will be no implications on the contract. And so I was very happy. I was able to pick up time with my kids. We started spending more time with each other. And when I first told them the news, I said, kids, guess what? Daddy has left the morning show to be with you guys. You know, I thought there would be trumpets, jumping up and down, embraces, but the kids were like, okay. I was like, what? So I talked to my wife. I said, honey, I don't know if the kids will fully understand what I've just chosen to do. You know, it's good money for our family. Now I'm going to have to find ways to augment that income. And it was fun. I loved it. And I thought it was also good for my profession, right? What I was going into on top of my entrepreneurship ventures. And she said, it's okay, honey. You know what? You hang in there. You trust that God will take care of you because you're following him. You're trying to prioritize these things. And the reason I'm sharing this to you is because what really spoke to my heart was what one of my mentors said to me at that time. And I've shared this in many different gatherings, but it is something very close to my heart. He said, Edric, there are seasons in our life where we need to say no to good things in order to say yes to great things. You see, TV and all those things, that show sounds like a good thing, but your family, that's a great thing. And so that's what I did. I let go of that to be able to give more time to that great thing, my family. And I thought that, you know, it would be all great. My kids didn't really react well. I actually got nominated for this prestigious award, the 10 Outstanding Young Men Award. And so I figured, this is it. This is my redemption. So I said, God, please let me get this award. It would be a great affirmation that I made the right choice, the great thing, not good, but great. But fast forward, I did not get it. And so I was crushed. I was talking to my wife. I remember it still very clearly in the dining table. I said, honey, so I just got the news. Oh, actually, I was overseas. And I was talking to my kids. I said, honey, I didn't get the awards. I feel honestly really bad, but it is what it is. It was, at least I got nominated. And then my son, the eldest son, who was emotional, remember him? He goes, wait, Dad, so you didn't get the award and you feel bad that you didn't get that award. But Dad, I want to remind you of something. You are the most important man to me. And when he said that, of course, I got emotional. My wife started tearing and I said, wow, God, that is the redemption for me. That's an affirmation for me that I had made the right choice. So that is something I wanted to share to you. And here's the application for you. Maybe what you need to also ask yourself is, are you doing good things when really you should say no to some of these things in order to say yes to great things? Good thing, great thing. It's time for us to filter that out and say, what are the great things that we need to pursue? And maybe some of us are not able to see these great things because, like the old story of the chicken and the eagle, where there's an eagle's egg that was unfortunately placed amongst the chicken's eggs. It hatched, it grew up with the chickens, so it thought, acted, and felt like it was a chicken, when really it had the potential to soar like the eagle until it saw the eagles. And as it tried to copy it, going off a cliff, the eagle finally found what it really was designed to do. Maybe for some of you, that's what it's like. You're an eagle acting like a chicken. And that's why you cannot see the great things. Your vision is so small. So I encourage you, as you come into this new year, have bigger visions. And I want to add a depth and a twist to this whole idea. Maybe the reason you don't think you're an eagle is nobody's told you. So let me tell you now, from my heart to yours, you are special. Can you hashtag that with me on the chat box? You are special. Now, I want to be careful when I say that you are special. I'm not saying that to be able to just think positive and feel positive and have positive thoughts, right? This juju. But I'm sharing this to you because you know what? What matters and what makes us special is not who we are, but whose we are. And I want to continue to infuse this in my talk with you. The reality that, all of us, we belong to God. He owns everything. And the more we're able to let that sink in and embrace that, the more we realize that I'm special, not because of who I am, but because of whose I am. I belong to Him. He tells all of us we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And maybe that's what you really need to help sink into your heart and mind. I'm special not because of who I am, not because of my achievements, because if it were, then I'd have to prove myself. I'd have to do all sorts of things, but really, I'm loved because I belong to God. So the question is this, and here's the key question. Do you belong to Him? Are you really His child? We'll talk more about that later. In the meantime, let me encourage you with that. Once again, our application, choose not good, but great things. Choose the great things. Reassess the choices you are faced with right now in 2021. Filter out the bad. Obviously, don't do any of those things. Look at the good, and amongst the good, see and say which ones are the great things, the things you need to put your heart and energy behind. That's what you now put your heart and energy behind so that you might experience life change. Fundamental resolutions to affect your money and all the other areas of your life. Fourth thing, let's wrap up, friends. I have just enough time to finish my time with you. We now need to look at number 5. Live like no one else. Ayan. So maybe you can start me off with that hashtag already. Live like no one else. What does this mean? Also inspired also by a statement of Dave Ramsey, the guy I quoted earlier. I'm going to close with another quote of his. He says, if you will live like no one else, later you can live like no one else. I'll say that again. If you will live like no one else today, later you can live like nobody else. In other words, if you start making choices that not everybody's making right now, it might seem weird or feel weird right now, but as you keep doing that, later on you'll realize, wow, everybody else is challenged or struggling, and here I am, I'm okay, because you chose those decisions. And many times, this is what will really change the way we handle our finances. Let's make this practical and more realistic, right? Um, I've shared a lot of stories about my life. I'll give one more if you don't mind, the most recent in my life. When I looked at 2020 and as we came into this new year, just like many of you, I struggled. It was a hard pivot. I struggled personally. I struggled professionally. I struggled with relationships. I'm very involved in my local church, so we had to grieve and counsel and pray with many families who lost loved ones. It was a hard year, right? I'm sure all of you are embracing this. It was a hard year, really catastrophic on many levels, 2020. But as I went through it, and now I look back at it, I realized personally how powerful this line is. You see, years ago, I had made certain choices to live like no one else. And it was very uncomfortable. I made 3 choices in my life back then. And, here are the choices that I made. I chose the homeschool lifestyle. It's very unconventional, right? At first I was resisting it, but because my wife had experienced it, I said, let's try it out. And we had our son chose what he wants and he embraced it. So we did it, and it actually changed our family. One of my favorite lines in homeschooling is this from a homeschooling mom. She said, one of the most powerful benefits of homeschooling is that homeschooling homeschools you. As a parent, it changes you. And that's what it did. More than the benefit to my kids, it changed me as a dad. So in the moment, it was changing me. I was seeing the benefits. So we carried on and I left my corporate job to now go all in to support homeschooling. And I tell you, I had my own office with a view, a 28th floor of Citibank Tower. I had my nameplate outside of it as a brand manager. I had so many departments, had multi-million peso budgets to work with, amazing compensation, benefits, etc. When I jumped into this, no benefits, nothing, right? And I would get mocked. The Department of Education, we had issues with some parents, we had issues with people, some friends. When I would talk about it, they'd be like, yun ang iniwan mo, yung Del Monte, yung past life mo for this. And, honestly, I felt a little bit ashamed of what I was going through, but I stuck to it. I wanted to live like no one else. It allowed us flexibility. It allowed us to do things different, to be able to save money even because of the costs. It allowed me to prepare better for the college of the kids. So I was making all of these decisions back then in homeschooling. Second, I chose to be an entrepreneur. So that was also a big risk for me after all of the corporate security, right? So much uncertainty. And then the third, even before that, I had chosen to follow Jesus, right? This was a very important decision for me. And not everybody agreed with my decision. I had resistance. I lost some relationships, some friends because of the lifestyle choices I began to make, and so all of these things are examples or 3 things when I look back on of things that I chose to do that was not like many people's choices. And it can feel like you're alone. It can feel like there were moments where I wanted to just quit and say, what am I doing here? Maybe I should go back, get a job. It's so much more secure and stable, but I stuck to it. And I share this because as I mentioned, when I look back at 2020, and if you're following where I'm going with this, and this is not me, not to draw any credit or attention to me, but when I look at 2020, the world changed. And one of the major changes actually involved all 3. The whole world went to homeschooling. 1.2 billion students all over the world started to learn from home. Not everybody did the actual method, but they moved there. So that all of the work we had done up until that point exploded in a good way. Entrepreneurship became so much easier because of the flexibility of that lifestyle. Even to the pandemic, the flexibility became something to our advantage. The choice to become a Christian way back became the anchor that held me through, even as we rocked through all of the challenges of 2020. So those choices I had made prior were choices that when I look back, I am now grateful for. I lived like nobody else so that now we're able to live like not many people. It is a great thing that we do not deserve. It is something that we're still trying to make the most of and use for God's purposes and His glory. But when I look back, that is one of the most powerful lessons I see. And as a wonderful icing, our son, our experiment, if you will, in homeschooling, he's now about to go off to college. He took his SATs through the pandemic. And even now, as he's making his college applications, we were so blown away to see that he scored a 1540. If people here do not know what that means, the perfect is about 1600. We found out from one of the colleges that he was applying to that accepted him, that actually meant that he is in the top 1% academically of the whole world. So it's like, wow, even that choice has been affirmed because our son has had a great learning experience. And I don't want to take any credit. It's actually my wife because she taught my son. So I'm sharing all of this to you, hopefully to encourage you, not to draw attention to me. You know, I am so imperfect. I'm so flawed. There's still so many challenges I'm facing, but I've learned these 5 things and they have changed me completely. And I hope that however this speaks to you, it will change you also completely. Not just another New Year's resolution, but a fundamental one that will change the trajectory of your life forever, because it has for me. So let me wrap this up for all of us. Right? What is the application for you in this 5th point? What can you start doing different from everyone else today to improve your financial circumstances for good? Could you, for example, as we said, maybe it could be number 1, change this. I need to remember to be a steward, not an owner. Could it be number 2, I need to be able to say, you know what? What did we learn in number 2? I will invest in eternity. I need to give more. Where are the areas that I can? I want to give generously and see God do his part. Could it be I need to do this? 3, turn my pain, the challenge, the problems into something that actually is an opportunity to even financially earn from. Could it be that what I need to do to be able to see this, live like nobody else, is to be able to look at the great things and say, what are the good things? I need to see what are the great things and prioritize those. Could it be one of those things? Or maybe all of them? Or could it be, let's talk a little bit practical and frivolous. Could it be you need to delete the online shopping apps to prevent temptation? Like some of our friends who are watching this right now. Like my wife, she said, you know what? I really should not have done that because it's available to this holiday. Maybe that's what you have to do. It's a simple thing, but hey, that's going to free you up from a lot more stress. Could it be that you need to use cash, debit, or maybe platforms like GCash instead of using credit cards so that you don't end up with all of this credit card debt that you cannot pay? Maybe that's it for you. That's what you need to be able to do to live like no one else. Could it be, and here's a smiling face, choose to homeschool? I don't know, maybe that could be for you. Or could it be, and this is where my heart really goes out to, this is the main shift that I really want us to be able to experience. And I'm sorry if it's going to sound preachy, but this is who I am. And I want to give this to you guys. Could it be you need to make Jesus your anchor? Could it be that this is the main resolution that will literally change the direction of your life? Could it be you need to embrace Matthew 11:28, which says this, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I, Jesus, will give you rest. Maybe that's what you need. Maybe that's what you need right now, is to be able to embrace that and say, Jesus, I've never given my life to you. I've never surrendered it to you. Will you take me? Will you embrace me? So that in this place, everything else will begin to follow. All these other fundamental resolutions. I will be a steward of yours. I will invest to eternity, not for this life. All of these things will suddenly make sense for you. Could it be that? If it is, take that and watch the rest of your 2021 change and the rest of your life, financially or otherwise, change forever. So friends, let's wrap up. If you really want to see changes in your life starting 2021, you can chat this in the box with me right now. Let's see if you remember it. Financial and beyond. Let's do the 5 fundamental resolutions. Here we go. Number 1 is, what is it? Be a steward, not an owner. Number 2, what is it? We need to invest in eternity. Number 3, what is it? It's to be able to take pain into gain. And then number 4, what do we see? Number 4 is choose the great things. And finally, number 5, live like no one else. Thank you for your time. I hope this has not just been encouraging, but I hope it will be life-changing as you now change your behavior and act on it. God bless you guys.
Wow, thank you so much, Edric. What an eye-opener for many of us. This time, this is truly a time and the best time to start working not only on being physically, emotionally, and mentally healthy, but also being financially healthy. But what I like about the applications that you gave, it really goes back to our emotions. It really addresses the heart of things, which is normally the problem why people get into debt and so many things. I learned a lot, Edric, and ang dami kong questions, pero we have to make way for the questions of our friends here from Maxicare because we are being bombarded with so many questions here. The first question is, how can I save more if my sweldo is of minimum wage lang?
Right. So there's 2 things I encourage you to do, right? I remember my co-host, and she's still the anchor of On the Money, Salve. She came from poverty. And para sa mga hindi nakakalam, ako rin po, my lolo came from poverty. He was a kariton vendor in Bulacan. So to answer that question, she said something that will help you. She said, it can be an excuse to be born poor, but it's not an excuse to die poor. These are her words. Why? We all have a choice. So inisip natin, paano ako makaipon? Paano ako maka-invest kung minimum wage earner lang po ako? You know what? I want to encourage you to be able to think about two things. Are there still things you can cut? Then you can save more. Or are there opportunities you need to hustle and push yourself to be able to acquire so that you can gain more? Those would be the two fundamental things I would look into. Ano yung opportunities? And for many of us Pinoys, the reality is, some of us will think, wala naman akong pagkakataon eh. Talagang hanggang dito lang ako. And you know what? That mindset is exactly what keeps people in that situation. Let's make it even more practical. If we think about that, because of the different opportunities just around us right now, it really just takes creativity and access. Most Pinoys will spend their time, and here's something that I've learned and I can be guilty of also, is because of the problems and challenges, we find ourselves entertaining ourselves more, di ba? Yung kung ano naman, games, online, ganyan, para na makatuwa, para makalimutan ng problema. Whereas we could be using that time to develop a skill. And there's so many skills we can develop in this day and age that can be profitable. We can do a simple correspondences online. We can do language programs. We can do virtual assisting. So many things that we can, if we just put the time and energy there. What are the opportunities? What are the ways I can develop myself? So yan po, I hope that you. A large part is the mindset, and then it is now to take action. Action will be key.
I love that. And I think that's in relation already and answering the question of Jenny earlier on how can we make more money if we have an 8 to 5 job, but it really does start in improving yourself, right? A lot of great questions, but for those who still want to log in their questions, please use the Q&A box right now as we are looking at it and answering your questions as well. Now, this one question coming from Dina. I want to grow my money, but I have very little knowledge on investing. Where can I start?
Sure. So step one is, what is your goal, right? As I was saying earlier, always invest towards a goal. If you want to be able to go into the world of investing, the goal will guide you. Para sa ano ba yan? I want to invest so that I can travel the world. I want to invest so that I can start a business. I want to be able to invest so I can prepare for family life. That goal, you want to say what that is, when is it, how much money will you need for that goal? When that is clear, you now look at your financial situation right now. Magkano bang kaya mong itabi to be able to achieve that goal? And let's say it's 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, whatever that amount is, whatever it now needs to be able to earn to achieve that goal, then that is now how you will start your investing journey. If you need 5% as a return so that you will get there, then you can start looking around and say, what are the options that will give me 5%? You can ask RFPs like myself. You can go to the RFP website and do that. You can go online and look for one of the basic ways to get started in investing is through what's called pooled funds. Ito po yung mga mutual funds or UITF. So look it up. There are websites with a whole set that are free. pifa.com.ph would be an example for mutual funds. uitf.com.ph would be an example for UITFs. Nandun po. Look at that and then see what's there. Or you can just do a very practical thing and look at the bank in which you're getting your salary or your income. Go to the bank and say, hi, my name is blank. I want to start investing. And here's what I need. I need something that does 5% more or less because that's how I will get my goal. Wow. If you do that, an officer will say, okay, ma'am, here are some forms. You will need to fill out risk profile, etc., etc. Here are the options. And then you can get started. And here's the best part. You can automate it. You can automatically have it connected to your account so that it goes immediately and you're not tempted to spend it. Ayan po. So I hope that that helps you get started in your investing journey.
And I like that because one of the applications that you said was about accountability and actually putting it straight to your investment allows you to do just that. That's in relation already to what Abigail Nules was asking on where can I invest? So I hope you picked up on a lot of what Edric shared. Nikiyata or Nikaita Ligahit actually is asking, how do you now build an emergency fund? And it's something also that people have a big realization on, especially with the poll questions that we asked earlier, talking about emergency funds.
Yeah, so you build an emergency fund by computing how much you will need first. So ideally, 3 to 6 months of your income, right, is what you will set aside. And to build it, the same way I mentioned earlier, right, look at the amount you're able to set aside for saving and investing. And before you actually invest, I would encourage you, put it to your emergency fund first. Pag nabuo na yon, yung 3 to 6 months, then you can start investing. Because the last thing you want is an emergency happens, you put your money in an investment, and now you have to take it from the investment, and there will be fees, and depending on the value of the fund, it might even be lower. You lose money. So set aside your emergency fund first, and then start working your way towards investment goals.
JR was asking if there's an absolute amount for an emergency fund, but Edric addressed that. It really depends on how much your needs are per month. And I think you have to take stock. And this is something that my husband and I, thanks to Edric, also enjoys example that, we really had to sit down and take a look at everything that we've been doing and we've been spending on. But speaking of spending, Edric, there was a question here on whether they should use credit card or debit card.
Right. Before I answer that, let me just help the guy also asking earlier about the exact amount. I would tailor fit the 3 to 6 months on your employability. I'll say that again, employability. If you can find a source of income quickly, then you can shorten your emergency fund. But if it takes longer for you, maybe because you have a specialized job, or maybe it's your personality, or it's the industry, or you just want to be conservative, then you go higher. That's also a way to tailor the emergency fund to you. Now, to this question about credit or debit, that's the question, right, Patricia?
Yes.
When do I use credit or debit, right?
Yes.
I'm a believer, honestly, right now, because of the way that people are behaving and because of the uncertainty around us, I'm a believer in that cash is king. So if you know yourself and you realize that using a credit card might make you buy things that you don't really need because you feel like you have more money than you actually have because of the higher limit than your actual bank account, don't use credit cards, go to debit, right? And as a general practice, this is my personal conviction, and my wife has recently shifted. So Patricia, heads up, she's also moving away from credit cards to move to debit.
Oh, yeah.
Just because there's a discipline involved in it that makes you appreciate the gains better. So let me be practical. At the end of the month, instead of saying, "Nako, ito na yung credit card bill," and then you're like, "Wait, where did I spend?" Blah, blah, blah. If you do cash, you're able to actually have real-time assessment of where your money goes. So check your personality and see which one fits better. As a general rule, I like cash movement. So debit is quicker. It's real time. I have it or I don't have it.
Yeah. Abby now is asking in terms of percentages, how can I save for my future? And I think this is really looking at the big pie of how much you're earning and then how much you're spending and where it's going, right? Can you talk about those percentages that you've taught before?
Sure, yeah, I love, this is my thing, right? I'm not going to say this is for all, but depending on your philosophy, that's why it's so important. I talked about 80-20, behavior will drive skill and head knowledge from Dave Ramsey, which is why I gave these 5 behavioral changes, right? You want to ask yourself, what is your philosophy with money? That will dictate your percentages. For example, in my case, 50, 20, 20, and then 10. So 50% would be for my needs, 20% for saving and investing, 20% for needs, and then 20% for the wants rather, and then the 10% now goes to giving. But that's my personal prescription. What I do is every year, my giving, I try to stretch even more beyond the 10. So now it's clearly beyond that, but that's a good starting point in my view. 50% needs, 20% saving and investing, 20% your wants, and then the 10% is your giving.
Thanks so much. Edric, I know that a lot of people are now curious about homeschooling. There may be some here who are with young families, with young children, and maybe considering this now, especially because of the situation. An important question here, and I think it's interesting, is it more beneficial than going to a physical school, financial-wise?
Financial-wise, for sure, because of what you just mentioned, right? A school has all of the infrastructure, and that's what you pay for. So that's where the money goes. In homeschooling, you don't need the infrastructure. So that's why it's so much cheaper to take a homeschooling option versus a school option. But now from a learning standpoint, people will say, is it better for a kid to be around other kids in a physical facility versus at home when they learn? For sure, it's important. So I think the mindset is, does a child homeschool just get stuck at home? And the reality is no. But let me put a but here, because it's the pandemic, both cases, physical school and homeschool, it's all the same right now, right? So what we're seeing is parents are liking homeschooling versus online schooling, because even if both children are at home and based at home, there's a lot more control in homeschooling, because you can dictate the time at which you learn, the content of what you learn, versus being logged into a certain schedule in a regular school.
Thanks so much, Edric. I just wanted to show you all the notes that I've been taking because of this. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. But in closing, Edric, this will be our last. What would be your words of encouragement for all of those people who are really experiencing a lot of financial struggle, especially now because of the pandemic?
Right. So, I gave you a little bit of a snippet of my own financial challenges. I was very real and honest with you guys. So I want to encourage you that you're not alone. The last thing you want to feel like is you're alone in your challenge and there's no hope out of it. And that's a lie. There is hope to your situation. And I'm going to lead to the most important encouragement I have for you guys. If you really want to be able to um, rise above and overcome the challenges that you have financially, the heart and soul of what I shared today is something that you might want to practice, especially the part about the anchors. There is hope in no one else, in nothing else. We think it's money, we think it's people. Actually, no, they'll fail us and they won't really satisfy or help us through. It's really found in Jesus. So maybe that's for you. Matthew 11:28. You need to be able to say, okay, God, I need you right now. Will you just comfort me? And from that point, I promise you, if you're able to embrace that, the rest of the perspective will follow. You'll see many of the stories that I shared, like, whoa, lots of God moments as He comes through for you and helps you through. Now, obviously, we do our part. And what is our part? Our part is this.
That's right.
This,
Steward. Yes.
this, and finally, what is the last one? This. So I hope that helps you. And I thank you
Wow.
for this opportunity to speak. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you to the Maxicare team for this privilege to speak to everybody about something close to my heart.
Thanks so much, Edric. We really appreciate everything that you shared with us. It was indeed a really helpful and inspiring talk on financial wellness, but more than that, it really dealt with the heart, and we all loved it. Thank you. Now, for all of you guys who just listened and really enjoyed this talk, I know for sure, we'd like to invite you to share a few moments or to take a few moments to answer this feedback form for Edric after this event. We have the QR code right here, and you guys can take a photo of it, or you guys can already use the QR code and go to the link later on. Thanks again, Edric. See you soon. Now, did you guys know that apart from today's helpful session, Maxicare continues to provide ways for you to live your best life? They will soon be launching the Maxicare's Maxi Life Wellness app, which has programs that target specific body needs and help in prevention, control, and treatment of diseases like hypertension and diabetes anytime and anywhere in just a few clicks and taps. Please watch this video. The Maxi Life Wellness app is just so amazing. Imagine mababawasan na ang pag-set mo ng appointments in the hospital, and you can now take better care of your health, especially if you have hypertension and diabetes using this app. And like what I said earlier, it's convenient because you can stay active, eat healthy, and take control of your lifestyle choices. There will be exclusive recipes, information about pre-diabetes and diabetes, and you'll be able to measure the impact of your physical lifestyle on your health. This app will be available for download very, very soon on the App Store and Google Play. I myself am so excited to download it. Now, before we close, here are two quick poll questions. Before you go, just click on the answer that best suits you. And here's the first one. This is what we love to ask all of you. Do you want to live your best life? It's yes or uh-oh. Those are your two choices. But I haven't met a person who does not want to go out there and live their best life. This is something that we all have in common, which is probably why you're here. And it's a resounding yes. We all want to live our best lives. Now, to help you guys do just that, which topics would you like to see in our next Wellness Fridays? And you can choose more than one: exercises for the heart, maintaining good mental health, parenting habits, or gusto nyo ba ng COVID-19 updates kasi meron tayong new variant, and all about the skin. So many wonderful options. We're listening to you. Please let us know what you guys would like to learn more of in our next coming topics. And at the end of this program, and we're coming close to it, we're going to be sharing with you some of the topics that we already have lined up in the next couple of weeks. So, what does the survey say? Maintaining good mental health. I agree. I agree, especially for this 2021. Although coming in at second place, we have COVID-19 updates that you all want to know about and exercises for the heart. But we all take stock and we all are taking note of what you guys want. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your thoughts with us. If you enjoyed this experience, please do share on your social media using the hashtag Live Your Best Life and the hashtag Maxicare Wellness Fridays. And you can also tag Maxicare on Facebook at Maxicare Healthcare Corp, on Instagram at Maxicare Healthcare, and of course, the Maxicare Health and Wellness on Instagram as well, when sharing your wonderful takeaways for this event. And don't forget to subscribe to their YouTube channel, Maxicare Healthcare Corporation. Now, to learn more about Maxicare's products, please visit www.shop.maxicare.com.ph, or you can even chat with them and send a message through their FB Messenger. If you have a question now about Maxicare's Wellness Friday, you may send an email to maxicarewebinar@maxicare.com.ph. I can't wait to see you guys on our next Maxicare Wellness Fridays, and the next one will be on Friday, January 29, where we will see, we're listening to you, where we will learn more about the new COVID-19 variant and the clinical implications with the award-winning infectious disease specialist and molecular biologist, Dr. Edsel Marie Salvania. What an honor to have him. Please be there for that one. And also, please mark your calendars already for February 5 as we talk about how you can begin your journey to a holistic lifestyle and learn the essentials for living consciously and sustainably with Hindi Weber. How exciting! That ends our event for today. Thank you so much for being with us this Friday morning. We hope you enjoyed and you were able to take away meaningful information on the fundamentals of financial wellness. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great day. And we know that with Maxicare, you can all live your best life.
What makes a future special? Perhaps it's in what you see. And how we see it. What you hear and how we listen. And if you seek a future that's worth depending on, we've got you covered in every way. We even added a little cup of comfort. And tasteful little details to show how much you mean to us. We are moving forward. Innovating our touch of care. making us available at any hour, at any day. So we can be more responsive. So we can be more connected. This is how we make the future of healthcare special. By making you experience you are special in every sense. We go beyond care. Experience Maxicare today. Maxicare Primary Care Clinic VGC is open to care for you 24 hours a day, every day. Visit other Maxicare primary care centers at these locations.